Well, here we go, everybody. I feel like we need some bumper music for this. We'll work on that for next time. We need some jazzy, little funk mix to it. Cole, who'll put you in charge of that? You're the resident musician here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third edition of FoxTales. This is a time where we get a group together of industry experts to talk once a month about things going on in the ServiceNow world, the journey that customers go on, everything from AI to technical stuff to just the higher level business things. So today we're going to be getting into talking about the customer journey, and I am joined by a couple people who are no strangers to that. So I'll just do a quick handoff to Paul and then Cole to do some intros, and we'll get rolling.
Thanks. Hey, everybody. Paul Schaefer here. Uh, Looking forward to today's conversation. Been in the industry quite some time. Bring a unique perspective to SnowFox. Been a customer and worked with a couple different partners in my career. So it's great to blend a mix of best practices and customer perspective to what I do for SnowFox. So looking forward to today's conversation.
Thanks, Paul. My name is Cole Powers. I'm the Senior Client Director here at SnowFox. Work closely with James and Paul every day to help our customers out. Based out of Chicago, been in the ServiceNow ecosystem for about 6 years now. Four of those at ServiceNow, and then joined the team here at SnowFox in 2024. So excited to get into it.
It's funny, we've been at this a couple of years now. Paul and I working together, and I don't know how many people know this, but Paul's my middle name. So every time I hear his name backed up from mine, I think I'm in trouble because it's
Yeah.
all right. Well, let's go ahead and get into our topic today. We're going to take a little step back and not talk about necessarily the implementation methodology or any of the technical things. We're going to talk about the actual path the customers take, everywhere from the decision to go with ServiceNow and all the way through what makes it a successful implementation. So we're going to start with that as our primary topic, and I'm going to let my colleagues here weigh in. Um, so, we want to make sure that we're talking about, well, when somebody's looking at ServiceNow, what's going into the need for that? What is it that they're looking to do? Are they looking to grow their business? Are they looking to find a differentiator with their competitors? Are they looking to just streamline operations? There's a whole host of reasons. So let me go first to Paul. And let's talk about some of the things that you've seen that have been the inspiration for customers to look at ServiceNow as an option.
Yeah, it's actually a great question because it's sometimes it's misunderstood. Most of the organizations that I've seen, they want to lean into a particular area, SPM or even ITSM. They don't really know yet that what they're looking for is better visibility into the work, better visibility into what the teams are working on. And it doesn't take them long to figure out that, though I'm looking at SPM initially, or even if I am just doing, ITSM at first, it's quick to learn that they see that visibility is there. And that just kind of, snowballs into, well, gosh, if that's the case, then, how do we reduce, response times and what can we automate and do, less manual effort, things of that nature. But it's great to see customers have those aha moments because they don't quite understand the platform in a lot of cases, and quick to learn. It's like, holy cow, this thing's a lot bigger and broader than I thought.
Cole, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the big thing that I hear pretty consistently is breaking down silos between departments or tools. It's pretty common over the couple years that I've been doing this to hear a new group after the initial go live with our customer is now wanting to get onto ServiceNow and really just expanding it to a enterprise-wide application, or at least a large amount of what companies do, building that in the platform because of what Paul said. The visibility, the reporting capabilities that ServiceNow provides are pretty unique to that platform. The other thing I would think of would be scale. A lot of companies are restructuring the way that they do customer service and IT service in particular, to make sure that they can find ways to automate and continue to grow and manage those costs as well.
Yeah, I think those have been around the industry, whether they've been directly involved with ServiceNow or not, over the past couple of decades. Certainly know ServiceNow cut its teeth, so to speak, as an IT service management tool. So, going back to the late 2000, early 2000 teens, it was almost exclusively for IT departments. I think that's where a lot of people, a lot of organizations started from there. So it was a lot of service desk managers that started looking at it. It was a lot of people in the IT, internal IT portions of the business that started looking at it. And it was not long after that that ServiceNow as a company started to expand, and at this point has certainly gone way beyond just internal IT, but that's obviously still a big part of what the platform is and what the value is. So I think one of the things that I've noticed a lot is that even if it was the IT organization that chose ServiceNow, it's always important for the other parts of the business to get involved to see what else it has to offer. Because if all you're doing is buying ServiceNow to do your IT service desk, you're really missing out on a lot of capabilities. I'm going to go back to Cole for this because Cole came to us from what we jokingly refer to as the mothership. He was actually a salesperson for ServiceNow at one point, so he was working with customers even earlier in their journey. So, what can you tell us that you saw back in those days that were the common first use cases outside of just IT stuff?
I would try and go at it typically from like a business outcomes perspective, and I know we're going to get to that today, but it's cost reduction, tool consolidation, risk mitigation, and in some cases revenue generation are the things that I would try and align the platform to with the customers. But I think in a lot of cases, if you pick any particular module within ServiceNow, you can typically find ways to replace a couple of tools and just simplify the operations within your company. So there's a hard cost savings, and then there's some process improvements and some simplicity there that a lot of customers really benefit from. But if you think of modules like asset management in particular, there's a lot of like regulatory things that you have to keep track of, in addition to the hard cost savings that come from that. So typically it depends on the customer's industry and what you're trying to accomplish there, but there's typically some common themes by industry as well.
Absolutely. And while it's not strictly outside of IT, I know, Paul, you have a lot of background in IT security and security operations. What have you seen as far as triggers for somebody to look at a platform like ServiceNow or ServiceNow itself?
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out the most is simply the depth of integration. As a customer and looking at ways to get team efficiencies, I want to reduce those panes of glass, right? I don't want to have 14, 15 different tools that I'm using. And, ServiceNow really, truly does allow for that consolidation, reduction of those panes of glass. And because of all the integrations, deep integrations with pretty much every vendor out there. So if you have your own custom hardware or software, all the way to, all the CrowdStrikes of the world, the integrations are there, visibility is there, automation is there. And basically, to Cole's point on, process improvement, it's about time reduction. It's about reducing those mean time numbers and giving those SOC analysts the tools that they need to just work faster, but still have a little bit of that human oversight over top of it to where they're still basically capable of dispositioning those alerts quickly for customers. So it's the real deal.
Yeah. I want to jump into some of the reality versus the expectations. And early in my IT career, and we're going back a long time, I was part of an organization that had been rolling out SAP for manufacturing. And I remember the owner who was, rather 20th century minded. He kept asking the leadership team, when is SAP going to be done? And even back then, I was like, well, when's the business going to stop changing? And I think there is no such thing as done. And I think about that when I think about especially the stakeholders that are looking to implement something like ServiceNow. How do they differentiate between the expectation versus the reality? Paul, you want to take that one first?
Sure. Yeah, I think a big contributor that I've seen is the aha moment when, key stakeholders and C-suite in these organizations realize it's not a one-time implementation, right? When you see their mindset and the lights go off of, changing that perspective of, did we launch and versus are we actually improving? right? That's that shift, right? So as they're seeing those realities post that first implementation, it does not take long for the aha moments to happen and for customers to realize, man, we are getting better visibility than ever. We're seeing process gaps we didn't even know about, and it's continuous integration at its core. Most customers don't know that at their first introduction to the platform, but it doesn't take long for them to see that.
Absolutely. Cole, anything to chime in with there?
I think we'll probably dig a little bit deeper in on this here in a minute, but I think just understanding that ServiceNow is a platform and it has a lot of different capabilities, and to both of your points, it truly is an enterprise system that you're going to continue to iterate on is really important because for any of those particular use cases like ITSM, there are point solutions out there that do that very well that typically require a little bit less configuration and maintenance, but also have some functionality limitations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big reason that organizations come to ServiceNow from those point solutions is because of that lack of flexibility or lack of scalability. So I think that's an area where ServiceNow definitely earns its keep is having the ability to grow, a small to medium-sized business into an enterprise class. Um, all right, so let's talk about the journey itself. What do you think most customers underestimate when they are first starting that journey? And that could even be before they sign on the dotted line for the licenses. What do you think customers underestimate the most? Cole, we'll go with you.
I think the biggest thing I've noticed is the amount of functionality and the possibilities, like we were just saying, even within one solution on the platform. We talk to a lot of customers that come to SnowFox because ITSM is an example. They're using incident and change, but maybe they want to improve their reporting or some other aspect of that product. So I think it's not always applicable that they're going to use everything that they've purchased, but in a lot of cases, they're really only scratching the surface of that value that they could get with the platform. And that's been a big theme for probably the last 3+ years that I've seen.
This will be for Paul. So the biggest gap between ServiceNow's the brochure versus reality. What do you see as the biggest gap?
I think I'll start with, I don't think I rarely see that it's a platform gap, and not just having a biased opinion there. I think it starts with the key stakeholders realizing that the platform supports standardization and workflow across teams. Cole kind of hit that earlier. They don't know that. They don't really understand it. And most people, they have to see it first. So, slideware from ServiceNow, they're beautiful and they do a great job at articulating that, but it doesn't really resonate, right? Once they really see that instead of teams solving problems independently, the platform supports that horizontally, and that's a tremendous aha moment that it takes a minute for those stakeholders to see that because they just are looking at it from solving problems first. They're not really looking at it from the collaboration lens at first.
Yeah, absolutely. And they oftentimes have directives from their leadership boards to accomplish a certain task. And sometimes that keeps them
Correct.
with a little bit of tunnel vision from seeing the bigger picture. I'll weigh in, and it's me trying not to go too technical, but I think the area that I've seen been the biggest gap between the expectation and reality and implementation is that when customers are looking at ServiceNow and they're seeing demos and they're watching the YouTube videos and they're seeing all the capabilities, there's kind of an implied perception that this is an easy thing to do, and it certainly can be. But I think where most customers struggle is that, and this is not a ServiceNow thing. This is every enterprise platform out there. Is do they have the data to support the capabilities? And I think I've seen that so many times in the implementations that I've been a part of, where yeah, the system can do it if you can feed it the data. And that comes back to do you have the self-discipline and appetite to groom your data, clean it up, and get it right so that you can make use of all the capabilities. It's the having the Ferrari, but not knowing where the keys are. You really have to get yourself ready. And a lot of organizations they kind of get sold on an idea that there's going to be an easy button that's going to fix all of that. And maybe AI is going to change all of this, but I think AI probably just compounds the need to have good data to support the processes. So I think that's an interesting thing that customers who are looking at this journey need to be cognizant of. All right, and the last question for this section, we'll move on. What area gets is the most overlooked on the platform? Either one of you.
I'll jump in. I think set aside AI just for a second because that's getting a little more visibility than most, but it's automation. M Most customers that I've worked with, I don't want to say they're afraid of it, but I think that they lack the confidence that the platform can support automation at scale, and that's across every module. And I've seen that, being a customer of the platform. It's I joke it's like the Matrix, right? It scales infinitely, and it's fantastic from that perspective. But that's not something that is known early on and quite often overlooked.
Right. So I want to talk about the role of a ServiceNow partner. And from the beginning, we've said we didn't want these FoxTales episodes to be sales brochures, but we wanted to talk about where organizations like SnowFox fit in. And I think sometimes we're the ones who have to be the life coach when it comes to those expectations on saying, okay, yes, you saw the demos, you saw the capabilities, yes, we can get you there, but it's going to take some work, and we're gonna help get you there. And I think that's where the role of the partner really comes in, because the partner, that's all we do is we help make reality out of the expectations. So I think I'm going to ask this from Nicole. It's like when you've seen a lot of organizations, a lot of partners that do things differently. What do you think makes the biggest impact when doing a ServiceNow implementation?
I think the big thing is just creating a level of trust early on and delivering what you say you're going to do, and if not more, is the big thing for both the customers and the ServiceNow team. But I think part of what we provide is just a consistency and a discipline to help even just put that deadline out there to get something done. There are organizations that can bring in technical resources and potentially get the implementation done, but the structure and the decades of expertise that SnowFox and partners like us bring to the table helps them get there faster. And I think something else that partners bring to the table in general is just the somebody like Paul that's been a customer, having that empathy in place and knowing what's behind the door per se, to do things like tech rationalization and help customers really understand what comes next after that initial go live or number two or number three. Paul, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I would add one additional facet. I think a good partner is going to know how to build relationships with the customer and getting a roadmap in place.
Yep.
Customers typically, boy, they just bite off more than they can chew a lot of times, and they don't understand that the platform natively has, what Cole and I call an install heat map, right? There is a sequence to it. It's a logical sequence. It makes sense. It allows for maturity. It allows for teams to learn and grow. So that sequencing work realistically is a big part of that. A good partner is going to push back when needed on that and say, you guys aren't ready for this 301 stuff over here. We got to focus on the one-on-one stuff first and get the teams using the platform. That is something that we do, and take very seriously because we've seen it done incorrectly. But yeah, that'd be my additional facet.
Yeah, Paul, you said the key word right there is roadmap. And, I think a lot of times organizations think that partners are trying to sell a roadmap because it, sells more partner services. And, there's an element of truth to that. But, I've seen this time and time again where an organization, especially a smaller one, will buy ServiceNow, pay for the licensing, implement just the basic IT service management, and call it done and call it good and never do anything else. And in my mind, they've really wasted their money, because if all they were looking for was a help desk ticketing system, there are far cheaper options out there. And I think the biggest term that organizations need to be prepared for is that continual service improvement.
Yep.
And what does that mean to an organization? Paul, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think I think it comes down to the customer just realizing that, and how do we get that exposed quickly? each customer is going to have their own journey, for that. But to me, I want to have that conversation as fast as possible. I want to prove to the customer what is possible. And we even go as far as doing our best to, try to demo that as best we can so they can see it and really get that, acknowledgement of I've made the right decision. And this platform can do a lot more than we need to, and we've seen a lot of customers do that. Post an ITSM implementation, they quickly see art of possible and move on. But I like to move fast in that space and get the customers ramped up quickly.
Well, I'm going to ask you this, how many times you've seen this where you're talking to a customer who is interested in acquiring ServiceNow capabilities for something outside of IT, only to find out that they already own it and their IT department's been using it for years.
It does happen quite a bit. I think there's all kinds of licensing things that we could probably have a whole nother episode about, and maybe have someone from ServiceNow on. But I think to the point that we've made, there's so much more capability even within single parts of the platform. And I think an important distinction here is even after a go live, once you get the end users in the system, you're going to be getting feedback pretty much right away and figuring out better ways to do things, or small tweaks here and there. So that's another way a partner can help, is just making those fixes quickly. And then we haven't talked as much today about the end user experience internally or for your customers, but that's ultimately, to me, what measures the success of a project, is that adoption and just the general sentiment of those folks. And the quicker you're able to fix things and iterate, the better their experience is going to be.
That's a great segue to our next topic, and I was going to go to Paul with this one because I know you're big on this. Is that a lot of organizations start this journey without having any measurable metrics around what success means? And I think Cole, you said the user experience, that's certainly a huge part of it. But what does it mean to the business to do this? Is it just cost reduction? Is it tool justification? Is there other areas? What are the metrics behind it so that we can look back 3 months after go live and say, yes, this is doing what we intended to do? Paul, what do you see in that world?
Man, that is a black box of a question, and tough to just have a single facet. I'm going to do two. First and foremost, what I see a lot, most customers don't understand deeply enough to put an operational definition around their own KPIs. That is a very common scenario. So quickly we can help them sort of retool those KPIs to what's important and things that are measurable long term and trending. That's the big thing for me is, we get a lot of customers that, they have a KPI that's just a number, but no really understanding to, well, is that good or bad? Should we be improving in that spot? That's where the platform shines, because it's not just about, time saved or reducing handoffs. It's going to be able to quantify those things. And what I've seen as a customer, but even with some of our own customers, is that actually gets up to your CSAT score. When you're improving and reducing ticket volumes and times with customers, your CSAT is just going to go up. You're going to be providing a better quality service because you're reducing that load and really, really getting that. And that could trickle down even to internal, employee satisfaction too, because they're not dealing with 4 or 5 different tools anymore. And, all these additional, high touch points, they've got a consolidated pane of glass to get their job done more efficiently.
Absolutely. All right, so we're down to our lightning round time. So the lightning round question of the month here is complete the sentence. ServiceNow delivers the most value when. All right, so let's go to Cole first.
I would say ServiceNow delivers the most value when you have a good plan and a good team in place, whether that's a combination of your team and a partner, and then the plan being how are you going to implement, how are you going to measure, and what comes after that on the roadmap.
Mm, good answer, Cole. James, I'll say, um, uh, let's change that fast a little bit. I think when customers treat the platform as a journey and not a milestone, it's not a single implementation. The more you lean in, the more you get out of it. And That's something that is not commonly understood, and that's where we help help our customers get there through our road mapping and those deeper conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we've been talking at a fairly high level about the customer journey today, about things that customers that are even considering ServiceNow or looking for solutions, whether it's IT or outside. It could be in HR, it could be customer service, it could be legal, it could be operations, it could be all over the place. But these are the kind of things that need to be part of that conversation. And I think it's good for everybody to be thinking of that. Obviously, we're going to be prompting our customers for that, but a lot of times we don't even meet the customers until they've already made the decision to go with ServiceNow. So we want to make sure we're putting in everybody's mind. Let's think through this and not just do a quick one hitter, get you a ticketing tool. That's not what is really going to make you a hero in your organization. Let's look at what we can all roll out together that's going to be a game changer for you. All right, so I'm going to say thank you to Cole and Paul for being my guest today on this the third episode of FoxTales. Hopefully, this has been valuable for those of you that tuned in and those that are watching on the recording that'll last for infinity. I think we haven't decided on a topic for next month, so if anybody has any ideas of things they'd like to hear our panel talk about, definitely reach out to us. And if anybody wants to talk about different options for how to plan that journey, we're definitely here for you. So thank you everybody for joining in, and we'll talk again next month.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.